Hey now, and welcome to the City Off Campus with your two favorite hosts, Sammy Sommerfeld and Jack McFarland. Today, we've got a special guest with us. We've got recently announced Iowa basketball transfer, Filip Rebraca, on the podcast. Filip, how's everything going with you?
What's up? It's been good. Kind of studying for finals next week, so that's the only bad part, I'd say.
Yeah, fair. We're in the same boat. So the first question I have to ask you is, making the move from North Dakota to Iowa, what are you looking forward to? And what are you going to miss about North Dakota?
Oof. I mean, there's definitely a lot of things I'm looking forward to. Just playing in a big arena, playing in front, a bunch of a big crowd and whatnot. But I also look forward to playing, with my new teammates. I'm very excited to play with guys that have very high level skills. And so those are the two main things I'm looking forward to. And then the things I miss from North Dakota is, I built some special relationships here, from my teammates, coaches, and even some fans, and so I'm definitely going to miss, playing in front of the fans here and playing with my teammates here. So I'd say those are some things I'd miss.
So we'll go into your career at North Dakota in a little bit, but I want to ask you, what was the transfer portal like? What was that process for you? What was the recruitment process by different schools reaching out to you? Can you kind of walk us through that? And then lastly, on top of that, how did Fran McCaffery and Iowa basketball stand out in the decision-making process?
I mean, the process was hectic. I'm not even gonna lie. I had midterms at the time, and I was overwhelmed, and everyone was blowing my phone up. From the mid majors, low majors, high majors. Everyone was blowing my phone.
Are you just getting calls and texts all day? Is that what it's like?
Literally. So, because the first time I went through this, when I was coming out of prep school. North Dakota was my only offer, so I didn't get to go through this. And now going through this again, it was insane. And I'm just it was fun maybe the first hour, and then for the rest of the process, I was like, Jesus Christ, I don't know if I can do this. And sometimes I'd really be like, all right, I'll call this coach back in 30 minutes when I get some rest or get some work done. So that's how the process went, and I felt like I did a good job kind of organizing my time and, not wasting anyone else's time, and telling the teams that I'm not interested as soon as I could. And then why Coach McCaffery stood out in Iowa is just it was a bunch of things, the vision they had for me, and the kind of trust we already built in such a short time, I would say. He showed me a lot of basketball clips and showed me how he would use me in the game, and I really bought into his vision of basketball, and I really like it. But I would say the basketball part is the major thing that stood out. I want to be a part of something and part of this system. So I would say that.
So with Iowa basketball, have you gotten the chance to really start talking to some of your future Iowa teammates at all, or start building relationships with them? If so, can you kind of give us a little bit of insight on that?
I haven't built relationships with them. We've all kind of introduced ourselves or whatnot over social media, but nothing too formal. I'm guessing I'm gonna do that within the next few weeks, because I might be heading up there mid June, maybe beginning of June, who knows when. So I'm guessing that's all gonna be left until then. But yes, I'm very excited to meet them.
So what do you know about Iowa City? What do you know to expect? Just the school itself. What is it that you know about Iowa, and what is it that you're looking forward to get to know more about being a student at Iowa as well as an athlete?
I mean, I'm gonna be honest with you. I did not have the highest opinion of Iowa. I've never been there, but off of stories and what I've heard, But I can't really say anything because I'm from North Dakota. So.
I was about to say.
Yeah.
So I really can't have anything to say, bad about it, I guess. There's been funny stories of my teammates going with, because this year we had Sabian Sims, who was from Iowa, and he took a few guys down to Iowa, and I don't know, like, it wasn't organized or whatever. It was like last, I don't know when or whatever. They went there and it was just a terrible trip for them. And so ever since that trip, I was like, Iowa, I don't know. After all these stories I've heard, I don't know about Iowa anymore. But, jokes aside, I have one of my former teammates, Billy Brown. He's a graduate assistant at SDSU. And he's from Iowa, but his sister works for the compliance, I think, in Iowa at Iowa. So he's been at Iowa City a lot. He told me all the greatest things. It's a really cool college town, and there's a bunch of places to go to eat and whatnot and see. So I'm really excited to just experience a different campus, to say.
Yeah, for sure. Like, one thing I will say is if you ever need some recommendations on places to go, I think Jack and I are pretty good with knowing the places to go and the places to eat. I think we're self-proclaimed experts there. But I think Iowa fans really want to know. Of course, obviously, like you said, you had a reputation of Iowa and things beforehand, but I think also too, Iowa fans kind of are like, North Dakota, that's kind of random. So what is living in North Dakota like? And like, what's the college town like there, if there is one? Like, can you kind of tell us a little bit about the experience of playing and living in North Dakota?
I'm gonna say the weather is the worst weather you will ever experience. And I'm not even like joking. Like, I think a few years back or whatever, it was the coldest city in the United States, colder than anything in Alaska, which is insane. So this, like, weather-wise, it's horrendous. There's no other way of putting it. There's like negative 60 with wind chill, negative 70 with wind chill. I don't know. It's just terrible. But apart from that, it's a really cool college town. I mean, I think we have a lot of people enrolled. I think it's like 16,000 people in the undergrad. There's a bunch of places to go out, a bunch of places to go eat, and there's like a downtown area. So I'm guessing it's kind of like Iowa City, but on a smaller scale. So that's what I would kind of compare it. I would say it's like. So the only bad part really is the weather, I'd say.
How did North Dakota come onto your map, and like when did exactly you come onto North Dakota's map?
So I just got done with prep school, and I was like, where I'm gonna go next, and no one really talked to me or whatever. I had a thing with I came from a British international school back in Serbia, and so I had to do some tests in order to regain one of my years of eligibility. So I feel like a guy coming from prep school with only 3 years of eligibility like made a lot of teams just turn away. But North Dakota had a Serbian assistant coach, and us Serbians like to be close, I guess. I mean, I never knew the guy, but he wanted to help me out, I guess. And he hit me up. He said he liked what I had to offer, and would you be interested in coming to North Dakota? And I was like, I was trying to kind of like play it off, like, I'll think about it or whatnot. I was like, yes, this is my only offer, So after like 3 days of trying to keep my cool or whatnot, I accepted my offer to North Dakota. And that's how I kind of got here.
So how would you compare how you were as a player when you first arrived in North Dakota and what you are as a player now?
It was a big transition. It was, I came in kind of like, they kind of expected me just to be kind of an energy guy, I guess, block shots, rebound, dunk the ball. And that's pretty much what I was the first year. I mean, I did shoot a couple of threes, but not too much, and then slowly as, the seniors left, then I became a more, I don't know, a polished player. I started off showing some of my other skills. And so, today, I don't know if I want to say I lost my athletic ability. I feel like I just haven't taken good care of it. Us mid-major guys go through a lot, with not the same resources high major guys go through. So I definitely think these 3 years have taken a toll on my body. But I feel like I'm a more finesse player now. I know the ins and outs of the game a little better. I know how to get to my spots and what other guys are going to bite on. So, I went from an energy guy to kind of like a finesse guy, and that knows how basketball kind of works 5-on-5, I guess.
How
When
ha-
you would
oh,
just, I was just gonna say, when you would just talked about previously, Coach McCaffery had a vision for you inside the offense. Do you know, like, or can you speak to it at all, like what he has in store, like kind of what your role or what he sees you doing?
Well, I don't want to like say I'm gonna be all this and that. But
Right.
he showed me a bunch of clips, and he kind of showed me a versatile player. That I can do a little bit of everything. If he wants me to post up, I can post up. If he wants me to face up from the mid post, I can do that. Shoot from the mid post, I can do that. If he wants me to run and transition, shoot threes, set screens, receive off ball screens. He just kind of said, you can do all of these things because at 6'9", I feel like I could be a mismatched nightmare to guys that are too big, and then I can stretch them out, or guys that are too small, I can, be in the paint more. So I feel like that's their kind of vision for me, is just kind of using me in certain areas depending on who's guarding me.
how has having a dad that played in the NBA helped you along your journey?
It's been very helpful, even though at times I'm just like, oh my god, like old man, like he's he's very very tough. It's a tough love between us. Even when I have like an amazing game, I could drop like, I don't know, 26 points. That was my career high, I think, and like against South Dakota, and we won. And then he could be like, hey, you could have done this here better, like I'm like, man, just tell me good job. So it's been tough, but like I really appreciate him, because after everyone lifts me up, he's the one that's going to be there to pull me down to earth. And it's very valuable to have a guy with that much experience, not just being an NBA, but being a EuroLeague champion, and one of the best players in Europe at his time. So I really value his words. So it's been good, definitely.
What was the basketball scene like for you growing up in Europe, and how did you kind of first pick up a ball? Obviously, your dad played professionally, so that had something to do with the interest. But like, were most of your friends growing up basketball players, or were they into other sports? And like, what was that like?
I would say definitely growing up, I was primarily the only kid that, in my schools and everything, I was playing basketball, I guess. I mean, I had my teammates that were at basketball. That, I mean, of course they played, but at school, no one really played basketball like me, I would say. And most of them chose other sports, from soccer, tennis. Tennis is big in Serbia, but and then some of them didn't even play sports at all. So I wouldn't say basketball is not very popular in Europe, because in Serbia it is one of the, if not the biggest sport. It was just the case that I didn't share a lot of friends that we share the same interest. So I just kind of did it by myself. And there was plenty of times where I had to tell kids, I can't go out hang out with you. I'm going to play basketball growing up. So yeah, that's kind of the scenario, what it was like.
What were their judgments when you would be like, I'm playing basketball? Would they be like, oh, cool? Or would they be like, oh, like, why is he playing basketball out of all the sports? Like,
it wouldn't be like, why is he playing basketball? They understood it. They kind of knew who my dad was and whatnot. But like, they were more like, this guy, he thinks he can be this. He thinks he can be his dad and whatnot. And I'm like, they didn't tell me that, but that's kind of what I thought of their, what they were thinking, so that's kind of sucks, I guess. But, I got through that period and look at me now, I guess.
what was it like for you going from Serbia, living in Europe and all different places, to moving to the US? Like, what were the adjustments going to prep school and stuff like that you kind of went through?
I wouldn't say I had the biggest adjustments, because when my dad played in the NBA, I kind of grew up in the United States while he was here. I learned English and Serbian at the same time. So languages there were never a really big issue. Of course, there's cultural shocks. Slang and whatnot. Some people would say, I don't know, like when I first came back, people would say, I don't know what words, and I'd be like, well, what are you talking about? I don't understand. Or, I'll definitely say the biggest thing, the cultural shock, would be like ordering food here. because I remember I went to, where did I go to? It was like Qdoba or something, and this lady was staring at me like I knew what I was supposed to do, and she was just looking at like the rice in front of her, and there's like three options, and I don't know the names of any of them, and I'm just like, what am I supposed to do? And she was not very nice about it. So just the way of life, the way people do things over here, just like ordering food at Qdoba and I don't know, at other places and stuff like that. I would say those are the two biggest things, slang and just kind of like the way of life you guys do things around here.
What's some slang that that like comes to mind right away that you just think is absolutely hilarious?
I mean, if I told you, like, I don't know, because I feel like I'm very used to it now. It's been how many years I've been in the States?
That is true.
Probably like six.
Not even slang anymore.
It's not. I use it now as well. But there are so many weird things, and I was just like, this doesn't make sense. But yeah, I can't think of anything off the top of my head right now.
Over your years, what's been your favorite arena or city that you've ever been able to play basketball or just travel to?
Arena. Oof, that was tough. I'd either have to say like Gonzaga, or maybe even like, this might be weird, but like Nebraska, because we beat Nebraska my sophomore year, and it was in their new packed arena, and I don't know, they got into it after they found out it was a tight game, and so that's why I would say that's probably one of my favorite ones, because it was loud, it was big, and and we got the win at the end of the day. So I'd say those two are the ones that stick out the most.
So what is it like for you now? Kind of you're reversing roles now, where you were that mid-major player on the mid-major team coming in to play against the Big Ten schools, the Gonzagas, that type of stuff, compared to now you're going to be on that Big Ten team playing the mid-majors. So what is that like for you mentally? But also, can you tell us through like the mindset you are in or you have been in with your team when you go up against a Power 5 school? Like, are you in there to win? Are you there to compete? Like, what is it like? Because we've never been able to ask that to anyone before.
My mindset is always a chip on my shoulder, because I finished high school, no colleges wanted me. I finished prep school, no colleges wanted me. So I was always like, like the underdog, and I always wanted to show that I can play at this level. And so when we played Minnesota this year, we gave them a good game, but we didn't just go there just to give them a good game. We go in there like to win. We want to shock the world or whatnot, and that's what we did in my sophomore year when we beat Nebraska. Yeah, okay, Nebraska didn't have the best team that year or whatnot. Yeah, but we beat a Power 5 school, and now I would say, kind of my mentality might shift a little bit towards being like, yeah, I was at one time where you guys were at, but I deserve to be here. So, going on the court against all these mid-majors, I'm gonna be like, yeah, this is why I deserve to be here. So, like, we're gonna play. I'm gonna play my heart out. So that's kind of my mentality now going in there.
So is it almost like a chip on your shoulder now to prove to other mid-major players where they might be like, why did I not get that opportunity? Like, to prove to them that you deserve to be on the stage? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Yeah, I'll say, yeah, to the mid-major teams, I feel like we'll play next year. That's kind of going to be my mentality. I'm like, yeah, I was on your spot, but, I deserved it. I earned this, and this is kind of like what I'm here to do. And then against, of course, we're going to play other Big Ten schools, and I'm going to have to prove there that chip on my shoulder mentality is still going to be there. Like, yeah, like you guys kind of like had this the whole way through, but, I'm coming up and I'm coming to prove myself.
That's awesome. What do your friends and teammates at North Dakota think about the move to Iowa? Like, you kind of touched on the jokes about Iowa and things like that, but like, are they kind of sad because now they're like, we had this Big Ten talent on our team and now we're that's a missing piece, our friends leaving? Or is it kind of like, hey, go do your thing, like we're with you, that type of thing?
It's definitely more the second one, like, go do your thing, we're with you. But of course, they're sad. We all, of course, have the jokes. They're calling me a traitor and whatnot. But it's all in good fun. But, I feel like this is not only like for the overall team, it might not, like for North Dakota team, and might not be the best. But, this, with me leaving, I feel like a lot of players now get their own chance to turn into like stars, I guess, if they can do it, and so now they have their own opportunity with me leaving, to show what they're made out of. So I feel like, even though we might joke around or whatever, I hope some of them are actually happy with me leaving, because now this means that, they can be in the spotlight and show what they're made of. And, I really hope that like all of them succeed in that, like have visions for themselves being the best guy on the team. So that's kind of how they see me leaving for Iowa, I guess.
So going into now, you're crunching out finals right now to kind of wrap up things in North Dakota, close that chapter and start your chapter as a Hawkeye. What, you have the summer and then you're going to have the fall. Then next thing you know, it's going to be basketball season. What's the moment that you're envisioning to kind of push you as you train this summer and get better? Is it your first game at Carver? Is it your first Big Ten game? Is it a specific game on the schedule? Is it your first start or your first, minutes off the bench, however they play you? Like, what is kind of the moment that you're like, this is the moment playing for Iowa that I'm just super excited about?
I'll probably say the first home game in the Big Ten. I would say that's kind of going to be like the big one. I mean, I'm all about rivalries. There's a lot of rivalries in Serbia and whatnot, and I feel like there's a lot of rivalries in the Big Ten and that's kind of how would I explain this? Like everything is like higher stakes or whatnot in the Big Ten. So that's why I'm looking forward to playing there. And then just being at home, I want the support of the Hawkeye fans, just cheering us on. So I would say that's kind of what's motivating me the most.
So this is a question I love asking our athletes that we have on the podcast is, do you have a pregame routine or do you have any like things where like pregame superstitions or anything that you do before every game, or, can you, I don't know, just wondering.
It's like, I don't know. I'm like very weird about that. Cause like, I believe I have a superstition, and then it works for one game, and then I try the next game and it would be like terrible. And I'm like, and then I keep trying to switch them up so I can find one, but I just can't find one. But the one I've like kind of stuck is, after the anthem, I'll just kind of kneel down and, give a short prayer. So that's I wouldn't say that's kind of a rich, kind of a thing I do before every game. I pray for everyone's health and safety. So that's my one thing that I kind of always do.
Cool.
What's something that a lot of people just don't know about you that you want to talk on Nation, or just something that people wouldn't expect?
I don't know.
Like, are you able to juggle or something? I don't know.
Any hidden talents?
See, here's the thing. Like my fifth grade teacher, I love to ask it because my fifth grade teacher tried to teach everybody in class from the beginning of the year to the end how to juggle. And I think maybe 2 people got it, but that's something. Like, those people know how to juggle forever. I don't know if you do.
That's true. No, I can't juggle. I'm terrible at juggling. I don't know. Interesting. Maybe someone might find this boring, but I play chess. So
no way. I love to play chess, actually.
I'm probably not as good because I haven't been brushing up on my chess skills, but I got the app on my phone and I like do a bunch of puzzles and like I play. I'm not that great at it, but that's something I like to do.
When did you start playing chess?
I learned, like, I was in the chess. There's like a extracurricular activity when I was in like middle school, when I was back in Serbia. So that's when I started playing chess. And then, there was times where I was like hooked on it, and then times where I was not paying attention to it. And then, it just kind of stuck with me always. So, I just have that app on my phone. I don't know for how long I've had it, but, I just play it from time to time when I find interesting, when I'm bored or whatnot. So yeah, that's kind of how it all started with chess and me.
Are there a lot of chess players in Serbia to begin with, or is it just kind of a niche that not a lot of people are into it, and just if you pick it up, you do?
I would say, like, we're not really Russians, I guess. So they, they love their chess, but I would say the younger generations know, but there's definitely like, in every park in Serbia, there's probably like the seats with the like a table or whatnot, and there's like older people playing chess. So I'd say, probably the older generations play a lot of chess in Serbia, but not so much the younger ones.
One of my final questions for you is it's kind of a two-ended question. One, what is like your biggest career highlight that you've had so far, like a game, a moment, a shot, anything? And then what are your goals going into your career as a Hawkeye? Like, what do you want to achieve? What are you hoping to do going into, just summer workouts? Can you kind of give us a little bit of an idea of what some of your personal goals are and what drives you?
I'd say I don't know if I have any career highlights to say. Let's say one thing that sticks out in my mind was I dunked on someone from Western Illinois, and it was pretty crazy. And then it was a 1 foot, like he had like he had the momentum, and he was like had 3-4 steps to try to block me, and he wasn't a small kid. I mean, he wasn't 6'9", but he was like 6'5", 6'6", I think. And I just caught the ball, took one step, and I threw it over him, and I fell down, and it was an and one foul. Like, and that was pretty crazy. So that's kind of the dunk that always sticks out in my mind. But the video on the dunk is like choppy or whatnot. The Eastern Washington guys didn't have great cameras, I guess. So that's kind of unfortunate. I have the tape, but it's not that great. And then my kind of like goals for being a Hawkeye, I have personal goals and team goals. Personally, I want to prove to everyone that I deserve to be here. I'm not just a kid out of North Dakota who's an undersized big man or whatnot. They want to say, I want to prove everyone wrong who thinks that way. But as a team, I have very high expectations for this team. They're coming off one of the best seasons ever, with having Luka Garza and whatnot. But, in my mind, I'm like, why not do it all again and maybe even improve? I want to win the Big Ten championship, even though that might sound like crazy talk for a guy just coming up from the Summit League. But, I always shoot for the stars. So I'll kind of say those are my personal ambitions and team ambitions.
That's awesome. So, like, speaking of Luka, have you gotten a chance to speak to Luka at all about, being a Hawkeye, or was that a part of Fran's pitch where he brought in Luka to speak with you or anything like that? Or what's the relationship been like there? And what's it like coming in where, that post area is very empty right now, and you're going to be one of the guys to help fill that at certain points of the season? So, like, what's that like for you to kind of come in and, be one of the people to, try to, fill some of those shoes up a little bit?
Well, currently I have the biggest shoes to fill. Oh, not just me, but this is how I see it. I have one of the biggest shoes to fill in the whole country. Like I'm replacing a guy that's technically the player of the year. So there's very high expectations behind that. But I'm definitely in this with Agandale and the Mully kid. So we definitely have a lot of work to do. But yes, I actually got to speak with Luka before I committed to Iowa. He talked to me about Coach McCaffery. He talked to me about the assistants. He talked to me about the guys, and why he feels like I would be a great fit for Iowa. It's just he just made me feel more comfortable with picking and choosing Iowa in the end. And then of course, when I committed, he congratulated me and whatnot. So hopefully we'll still keep in touch. Hopefully I can ask him questions about this and that in the future, or maybe some parts of his game and what he feels like, I don't know, to do in these situations or whatnot. So this is someone you can learn from because of his status and what he's achieved at Iowa.
So having that conversation with Luka, was that one of the things that really kind of stood out to you about Iowa when you were kind of evaluating other Power Fives and stuff like that? Was that kind of a swaying factor of kind of getting to hear about his experience, another big man who had success and that type of stuff? Or was it just kind of another piece of the puzzle?
No, I mean, I feel like it was a big thing. Not every team, but basically Iowa was the only team that had the best player call me and say, what's up? I had other guys reach out or whatnot, but none of them had the status of of Luka Garza. So when a guy with his the repertoire calls you, you really want to listen to what he has to say, because you can learn a lot, from what he's talking about in his experiences.
What kind of input did your father have in any of this decision?
I mean, he had a big input. He was on every Zoom call that we had. I didn't want to bother him with all these coaches or whatnot, the time difference, and then me calling him, and his English isn't that great. So, that's not a recipe for success. But he definitely talked to me about a lot about the positives and negatives about each program, and in the end, he felt, I was one of my top two choices. So, he said he doesn't care where I go. He said you can't really make a mistake with the top three you had. And he's gonna be proud of me wherever I go. So he definitely just made it kind of clear of what are the positives and negatives of each and every program and their situations.
Well, it's definitely a positive for you, for Hawkeye Nation, for everybody that you're here now, and can't thank you enough for doing this interview. Truly, it's been an awesome time to get to know you, talk a little about your journey. For all of our listeners, if you haven't already, I'm sure you guys are already familiar. Good Pods, go ahead and download it if you want to find some good new podcasts. Sammy and I are on there as well. Go ahead and follow us. Like always, not the same time, same place. We will see you guys later.